well, if we make such a fuss for Jesus being offline for like 3 days, I guess I can do the same for being offline for 2 weeks. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody, to me being back. By which I mean Happy Easter if you're a Catholic or a Protestant. Happy Palm Sunday. Now, that's over if you're an Orthodox, and happy whatever if you are none of these things. I am back after 2 weeks of doing nothing, and this is the bi-weekly, at this point, like weekly navel-gazing, and because I didn't do anything, there's all the much more to talk about, right? Makes sense. In somewhere. It's the inverse square law of content creation, or something like that. My point is, we'll talk about what I've read, all the videos I didn't do, all the things I'm currently reading, and what I plan to do, and then I'll just talk a bit more about like what happened over the last 2 weeks, and general stuff. I'll put that at the end, so in case you're not interested in my personal struggles and whining and complaining and whatnot, you can switch off, or in case, talk about mental health and things like that are a bit too much for you right now, then you can also switch off and still know all the things that I plan to do. So let's try that for once, shall we? Alright, so I did read quite a bit in the last 2 weeks. I did read more Arthurian stuff. I did slog my way again through the entirety of Le Morte d'Arthur by Thomas Malory, and then I did read A Connecticut Yankee at King Arthur's Court by Mark Twain, which was an absolute blast. And I was like, it's one of those books that most of us haven't read, because there's all these adaptations, these movies, we know the story, but we don't know the actual book. And I'm really glad I finally read it, because holy shit, that's a very angry book. And I do appreciate a lot of things that Mark Twain is doing there. It's obviously an old book, it's a 19th century book, so there is a level of sexism in there that goes beyond what I'm usually comfortable with. There is a lot of racism in there that I'm not very comfortable with, but 19th century. And he does advocate for universal suffrage, so there's that. Beyond that, however, and if you can stand that, I highly recommend you actually go and read the original book. Maybe try to find a digital copy or whatever of the original one with the original illustrations, which are even more politically angry and whatnot. But in general, it's a good book. I really enjoyed it. And beyond that, I started reading The Once and Future King by T.H. White, and I already finished the first one, which is The Book in the Sword in the Stone, and I'm now in the next one, which is either The Witch in the Forest or Queen of Air and Darkness, depending on which version you have, and I'm really enjoying that one too. Beyond that, what else did I read? Well, usually Discworld, like always. I reread Nightwatch. We had our Nightwatch conversation. It was great. It is one of my favorite, if not the favorite, Discworld novel, and yeah, you should go and read that. Beyond that, I did read both the Blackwell Companion to Arthurian Legend and the Cambridge Companion to Arthurian Literature, or whatever they're called, those two. And I read The Modern Construction of Myth by Andrew von Hendy, which is a fantastic book. It was probably the densest academic text I've read in a long while. It's a history of ideas about, well, the construction of myth as an idea, concept, and so forth, from like the 18th century onwards. It cites a lot of philosophers, theorists, sociologists, anthropologists. It's all over the place. It's really dense, but it's really, really, really impactful. I really, really enjoyed that book. I learned a lot, is what I'm trying to say here. So that's a lot of academia stuff that I've read, and, a lot of books that I've read. So from all of that, you can see, I guess, that I'm still somewhere in an Arthurian rabbit hole that I kind of dug myself into by accident or whatever. And I guess I'll keep reading some Arthurian books. We'll see how many I'll squeeze in. Because, of course, the other book that I really, really, really want to read and really need to read is Forge of the High Mage by Cam Asselmond. Because that one, it's a Numelazen book, and it's one about Falar, where everyone looks like I would like to look, I guess. And, it'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I have it already on my phone. I just need to start it. And beyond that, who knows? I still have some academic stuff on Arthur lying around on love, marriage, inheritance, and adultery in the Arthurian legend cycle because, gender is one of the big themes in that whole cycle. And yeah, that's sort of where we are. What about video plans? Because obviously I didn't make any videos. I mean, I did start an Arthurian video. It's 46 minutes long, and I'm not happy with it. So there you are. I do plan to make videos, of course. There are Discworld videos that I need to make on The Amazing Mauries, on possibly The Last Hero, and on Nightwatch. So that's something. And there is still a video on Maror that I really, really want to make. But, it's all about like having the right ideas and getting them in shape. And then there is, of course, Sunday School, which has been on, I guess, Easter holidays for now, but will come back with a vengeance. Because, of course, well, some of you have seen the poll I put up on the community tab where I talked about like whether I should do it like in one video or in several videos. Right now, even though the poll is slightly on the side of several videos, I do lean in slightly towards making it one big video. I have come up with a structure of the video. I just feel it might be more comprehensive if the important elements are all in the same video. You know what I mean? Like the problem is for me that I want to talk about the structure, like the basics of Arthurian mythology, and then talk about the history of the stories or publication history or whatever we want to call it, and then want to talk about like specific ones from modern day roughly. But since I want to, make sure that the elements from both the themes that I talk about in the beginning and how they were changed over time through the history of the production of publication of different Arthurian stories, and how all of that then fits together in contemporary Arthurian books. Sometimes I worry that if those are different videos, people might just watch one of them and don't get the full thing. But if you have like one large video with chapters, people can just jump back and check out a specific thing again. That's sort of my thinking right now. That may be off, but that's just like how I feel. Now that obviously shows my boundless arrogance once again, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But that's sort of where I ended up with the whole idea of this Arthurian excursion during the Sunday School, which shows you that I'm making this whole thing up as I go along and don't have any plan whatsoever. Or if I had one, I'm really bad at sticking to that plan. However, like once I did start and talk about, different mythologies in Fionavar and how they were combined to build the world and the world mythology of Fionavar. And then decided to go and pick Arthurian legends as like the other way, where we just trace one legend through time in its creation and its different forms and different versions, whatever you want to call it. I'm looking for a word here that I'm missing because I'm, not really good with words. Metamorphoses, that's the word I was looking for. Looking for its metamorphoses. That's sort of the idea, and then it just like exploded, and I just dove in. I was like, but we could also add this part. And while I could probably talk about the Mist of Avalon and its connections to second wave feminism and New Age paganism already, I'd feel bad if I hadn't read it. And then you realize that that's like a 50-hour audiobook, and suddenly, yeah, you know what I mean. I got distracted and dove down this rabbit hole, and I'm still down that rabbit hole. I try to figure it all out by next week. That would be really clever. I feel like I can probably start recording bits and pieces over the next couple of days on, well, I mean, the history bit I can probably do right now, and the theme bit probably as well. So I'd probably better start doing that so I can, use them and improve them over the next couple of days, and then I can just add the ones on the individual books that I want to talk about as examples of how Arthur gets adapted in contemporary days. But that's sort of the idea for the Arthurian video. So, lots of plans. Let's just hope I can get some of them worked out, because, There's also someone who has to make these videos, and that's unfortunately me. So yeah, these are the plans. I'm always open for other ideas and stuff like that. I would love to do like another live stream because I really enjoy those. But I'm not quite sure when to do that because there's all kinds of things happening in the next couple of weeks where I'm like always, Saturdays are really bad for April. So I might have to move the monthly malcontent thing to a Sunday or possibly a Friday. I don't know what will work better for you guys, but that's sort of like my main issue right now is Saturday or Sunday for the malcontent. I guess Sunday might be better because you know, who knows? Let me know in the comments what you prefer. So that's roughly the plans right now, and I'll just talk a bit more about like what happened the last 2 weeks and why and the general state of me. But in case you don't want to hear anything about that, that's fine. And I hope you'll enjoy the next couple of videos once they're up, and thank you for all of that. And everyone else, I'll just talk a bit more about me and shit like that, right? So well, first of all, thanks for watching so far. All right, thanks for sticking with me, those of you who have. Let's talk a bit more. Like, the first part is really simple. For a while, my internet was just down. There was like a cable thing with the router and, you know, technical issues that made my internet not work for a couple of days, or like almost like a week. And that means that I didn't have enough bandwidth to actually upload videos. So once that was clear and I was waiting for the tech guy, the technomancer, to come on and resurrect my internet, you know, I was like, yeah, well, in that case, I'll just not record any videos, and that's sort of what happened then. And, you know, that's the first part of why nothing happened over the last 2 weeks. Just like, you know, I couldn't upload videos, which, you know, happens, and now it's all solved for now, so I guess we're good with that part. However, there's obviously also me and my general, you know, mental health and things like that, and I'll just talk a bit about it. I'm trying not to become too whiny, whingy, or whatever, but, you know, I feel sometimes it may explain my thought processes and why I'm able to do something or why I'm not able to do something in a more clearer way, I guess. So yeah. That's where we are now. So, see, first of all, there was, of course, the whole Brandon Sanderson thing, and I'll return to that. Problem is, it does hurt me if people call me either arrogant or anything of the sorts, condescending, because I try not to be that. It's something that, you know, one of my biggest fears or pains, if people call me that. It's like, and it's very difficult to deal with that because as I said, like, I really try not to be an arrogant person. I don't think of myself as extremely smart or anything like that. The fact that I know a lot of books and stuff is mostly due to the fact that I'm old. And I was privileged enough to have enough time to read a lot. That's all there is to it. And that's not my capabilities or anything of the sort. That's just like having enough time to read this, or having not enough sense to actually do anything productive in the meantime that would get me a job or anything of the sorts, right? So I don't think of myself as superior to anyone, ever. Mostly, I mean, except, you know, Nazis or whatever. But, you know, so when people call me, mention that my stuff or whatever I say or do or put out there is vitriolic or comes across as arrogant or condescending, that does often, like, you know, make me spiral down into this, like, further self-examination, which usually doesn't go well because I'm not very good at self-examination. I just tend to, you know, dig deeper and don't find any way out of it, in a way. You know what I mean? So that's part of it. And then I'm like, that leads to me questioning, like, my output. I'm like, are the videos that I'm making good? Obviously, I'm not talking about the numbers right now, okay? Yes, there's booktubers out there that started after me that are way more successful because they do all kinds of things, and I'm like, I guess that's it. But the point is also, does what I do matter? And I feel that's one of the big struggles that I'm in these days. Because at the end of the day, right now, I'm very useless, right? I'm struggling with depression. It may be depression. It may also be burnout, or a combination of those, because the last couple of years I've done way too much things at the same time. And, you know, lost track of a lot of things. But the reality right now is that by society's standards, I'm extremely useless. I sit here, I don't do anything right now. I can't get my shit together to even communicate with people that I really need to talk to. I can't get anything done in any of these ways. And obviously that weighs on me a lot. I wish I knew how to fix it, beyond, taking meds and stuff like that, but I haven't reached that situation yet. There's all kinds of other elements that, external pressures, financial pressures and all of that stuff that make these kind of part of these communications difficult, because you're like, yeah, but yeah, I'm pretty broke. I might even owe some people some money, and that's really not a situation that makes it easier to have communications with anyone on like a professional level. And it shades over into even personal conversations where I haven't talked to parts of my family for weeks because I just can't deal with it in a way. So I'm a very useless person in all of these metrics. However, the videos that I do, I care deeply about. I think, I'm not sure if that comes across. I hope it comes across. It's like, I don't want to just say, hey, I like this book. I want to explain why I liked a specific book. If I'm concerned about something, if I'm angry about something, it is because I actually care. I don't want to, destroy anyone's enjoyment of, say, Brandon Sanderson's books. I see something happening in, say, publishing or fantasy or the world in general, and I'm concerned, and that makes me angry and so forth. But much in the way that, say, some authors want to change people or move people with their books, I feel like that's something, I wish I could do that. It's for example, why I made that first anti-Semitism video. I'm like, yeah, this is something I care about. We need to talk about it. And I think that's part of the danger. It's like, if I hang too much of my worth, my self-worth, which, to be frank, is pretty much down there somewhere, on video production or whatever, and then I get like harsher criticism, or criticism that goes beyond like, hey, I disagree with you, and that does like make me very much doubt whether I should actually continue making videos and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It boils down to the question of purpose. It's like, I need some purpose in my life. I need to do something where I feel that I'm doing something positive in some way or other. That's sort of like the goal, right? It's like, I want to leave the world a better place. This sounds so cliche, right? But at the end of the day, I need to feel like I'm doing something. I feel like some of my videos go down that direction where I feel I'm doing something more along, like, more education than just entertainment and telling you how much I hate a book or how much I love a book. I want to, you know what I mean? There's a level of education there. I'm not a teacher, but like doing these Sunday school videos means I have to think like a teacher in some regard. And if some people go out and say, hey, you know what? I've learned something today that I didn't know, and I feel that makes me think more and probably have more fun reading books in the future, then that makes me happy. But it also means that I take these things very seriously, and led me down that Arthurian rabbit hole. At this point, it has more like, the approach of, well, at least I feel almost like a high school level course, I guess, just that Arthurian thing once I'm done with it, because, research and shit. But, so, yeah, that's sort of what kind of also kicked me down. And then it was, some external things happening in my life where I'm like, just felt so down. So what I did was just like read all day and just do nothing else but read, and because as long as I just like overflow my brain with input, whether it's academic texts or fiction, as long as I do that, I don't have to think myself and have to actually find answers. And that's the large part of what happened there. Is like I was just like cramming input into my brain every day to make sure that I don't have to actually deal with the consequences of the life that I'm currently leading, which, to be frank, is very much, I'm to blame for the situation I'm in. Don't get me wrong. I'm to blame. There are maybe some parts that are, external or mental health related or whatever, but at the end of the day, it was still me who made these decisions. And the question of whether I'm able to, live an independent life of my own, and not having to ask other people for help, not having to ask, family for help or whatever. that's very, very central to my personality, I guess. Maybe connected to that whole question of disability, where suddenly, independence or self-sufficiency or whatever becomes even more of a concern, because yeah, there's obviously some things where you can't do that. Maybe connected, I don't know, but it certainly makes it even harder for me to ask for help sometimes, and that's sort of where I've been stuck the last couple of weeks. I'm like, on the one hand, I have more energy because it's getting spring, possibly, possibly the meds are actually working. Who knows? But on the other hand, I'm also not yet able to channel that energy into anything more productive than making some of these videos. And then I have like all these dreams for cool videos. I'm like, yeah, but I can't edit them. At the end of the day, a 2.5 hour video of me just sitting here and talking about history of anti-Semitism might just not be entertaining enough to actually capture people's attention to then do something. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm doing something, and then I feel I might not be up to like the standard of what I want to do. And then I get criticism that even the part that I can do, which is just like rant at the camera, I fuck up because I'm coming across as too arrogant or whatever. It's like, what am I even doing here? You know what I mean? So that's certainly part of the big issue, and I'm not quite sure how to solve that. Certainly, having no monetary concerns anymore would certainly help. Other things probably would also help. I'm still trying to figure it out. Having some sort of cheap side job that I can actually do, and that would, bring me a couple of $100 per month, I'd be happy with that. That would probably solve a lot of problems because it would ease my mind. But as of now, I have no idea what to do there. Anyway, my point is, it's not all money. It's a combination of all kinds of things that just like kind of came together as this sort of perfect storm, and I just like didn't do anything except reading books, and some of them were good, and some of them were very repetitive. But that's just like how that shit goes, and I really hope I'm over it. We will see. Beyond that, that's just all of that. And thanks for those of you who asked after me and shit like that. I do really, really appreciate that. It's really important to me. I'm really thankful for that, and thanks for watching this. And I hope the next couple of videos will actually be good and make a difference, at least for someone. You know what I mean? That's the dream, and as long as that happens, I guess I'm kind of happy. So that's what I'll do, and I'll just dive back into some King Arthur for a while, and some Forge of the High Mage, and then we'll see what happens after that. Anyway, I hope you had a great time while I was gone, and I hope you had a good Easter holidays. I hope you'll have a great Easter if you have it next week. Yeah, have a good time, take care, and be good, I guess. I'll see you soon. Cheers.